My full name is Michael Graham Young. I'm 72 and I live currently in Bishop Sutton, Alresford. I was born in Tunbridge Wells in Kent and lived there for the best part of 20 years, during which time I was attending private school at St Margaret's in Tunbridge Wells, Homewood House Preparatory School, and Tunbridge School, until I was 18 and I moved to take my first job in the city as a money broker and stayed in that career for the best part of 35 to 40 years. My father was in a professional insurance business, and he enjoyed life. He had a lot of hobbies. My mother never worked, but she ran a house. Um, but we were quite a happy family, really. I had a brother who's still alive. He's in plastic packaging, trying to sort out how to take his product to market and recycling. He's got a patent on one product, which looks very exciting. Um, so I had an interesting, enjoyable upbringing, a good education at school, some interesting hobbies. I used to play squash competitively. The job, as in instances of that nature, came up as an opportunity to become a junior trader in a money broking operation. Money broking is where two companies get together as an agent and find a home for a lender or a borrower in different currencies. We also do forward foreign exchange and various derivative products over a period of time. And I started with them in 1965, following which I moved to set up my own business in 1982, and then moved again from there to a management position in a larger broker in London, which gave me the opportunity, being an international company, to travel to some foreign financial centres. I went to Kuala Lumpur, Hong Kong, where I was there for 3.5 years, Sydney, Melbourne, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, then back to London, and then I took over the European operation, which consisted of offices in Copenhagen, Oslo, Stockholm, Helsinki, Amsterdam, Frankfurt. That's about it. So I eventually retired in 2003, I think, or two. I've gone through the difficult process of assessing what you want to do next when you retire. Basically, you don't want to sit at the backside doing nothing at home. So I thought I'd write a book, and I started writing a book on the Middle Eastern conflict, a fiction book of a young chap who lives in various communes and learns the business extremely sharp, and he eventually moves on up to bigger things, in particular trying to determine what would be the best situation for upgrading and making something sensible out of refugee camps. Because as they are at the moment, they don't have enough money between them to offer a decent service. What they should do is get the United Nations or one of the other international consortiums to sponsor 4 or 5 international centres whereby they offer excellent literature, situation, trading, medical, etc., etc. And when you do that in such a scale, you can throw a lot of resources at it, which you didn't or wouldn't have with a small organisation. You just can't compete. So I got to the point where he starts in, what's the name of the town? Aleppo, near Damascus. And he spends some time in Lebanon and comes back into the fray of the international centres. And it goes from there. Anyway, that was what I was trying to do. And I still haven't completed it yet. I'm trying to teach myself how to write a novel, which in itself is interesting and very demanding. Several years ago, decided that the Houses of Parliament are going to disband in 10 years' time, so I've got 5 years yet before they will. The reason is because I don't believe that the way we run this country and other political initiatives globally are sufficiently I'm trying to think of the right word,
represent?
Yes, that's good enough. You can scrub that bit and put the right word in. Whereby matters are looked at and discussed on a global basis rather than a microcosm self-interest. And I still think that is going to happen. It's just a question of time. If enough interest is not shown in trying to put it all together, then the people power will come through again, and they'll just dictate how it all ends up, which sounds a bit frightening, but I think it's the only logical way we can go forward. I believe that this country will go through a stage of self-determination, and the parties will split up, and there'll be a cross-party approach to various subjects, which is quite interesting in itself. Then internationally, the same sort of thing will happen, where there will be a cross-party interest, whether it's started by Trump, or whether it's started by Assad or the madman in Syria, whereby individuals will more and more have an influence, which is in itself very dangerous, in deciding how to go forwards internationally. Well, we've got a massive problem with the distribution of wealth, which I'm a strong believer needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. We can't have a situation whereby people are earning more and more within an economy and receiving on a broad basis less and less. You've got to redistribute the wealth. You can't do that by just giving it away. You've got to establish a structure whereby countries, economies sit down and work out a sensible tax structure and profitability being spread and paid out on a more equitable basis than it is at the moment. I met her on platform 5, Charing Cross Station, where I was joining with a friend of mine to sit up at the front of the train. And he waddled up and I said, I'm not going to come back with you tonight. I've got my crossword, I'm feeling pretty tired, I'm going to just sit here quietly. He said, don't be so boring. I want you to meet the twin sister of the girl I'm taking out. So I said, all right then, let's go and do it. Went up to the front of the train and there was my wife. And I took an instant liking to her. And we went out. 3 years later we got married. Being runner-up in the British Junior Squash Championships and playing for Kent. And I wrote a fantastic poem once which I lost. So God knows what happened to that. I was very proud of that. And being introduced to my wife. I've had a fantastic family life, which has been really worthwhile, and long may it continue.